What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Bourbon Buzzed and Ballin podcast. We are your hosts, Kolby and Dut, and this is episode 19, and we're here to talk some sports, drink some bourbon, and of course, we're going to rate some bourbon at the end of the show, so check out that segment.
Yeah, we got a couple of Jefferson's reserves, just the small batch and then the single barrel.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
We'll check those out at the end of the show.
Good Thanksgiving week. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Absolutely. Went down to T-Town, did a little tailgating. Excuse me. Saw some family. Had some turkey, obviously, some ham. We grilled out some steaks one night.
Yeah. How was your spot on the quad? Nice. Were you
It was
on the
real.
quad?
I was real close to Denny Chimes.
Sweet.
I was probably about 50 yards from Denny Chimes, right there.
Yeah.
To the right side. So, yeah, it was
Couldn't
good. We had a
make it.
good turnout to the tailgate.
I wanted to make it, but I couldn't make it.
Didn't get anybody come up asking about the show, but
That's
we
okay.
did have a good turnout. It's probably between, Kalissa's friends and classmates and all the family and the other friends that we had, 30 or 40 people. So
Nice.
it was a good turnout. Good turnout.
Nice. Well, before we launch into the show,
Mm-hmm.
I got a little topic. What's your 5 must-haves for Thanksgiving? Your Thanksgiving meal.
Well,
Your last meal. What are the 5 things you're asking for?
my favorite is my mom's pumpkin pie. So I'm gonna start with dessert.
All right, working way back.
Because that's my favorite. I love my mom's pumpkin pie. Can't nobody, and I'm sure everybody says the same thing. Can't nobody make it like their mama.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people try. My wife's tried to replicate my mama's recipe and still can't make it like my mama's.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sorry to all the ladies in our lives, but there's something about mama's cooking for sure.
So I'm gonna have to go pumpkin pie for sure. You throwing me off here.
Hey, it's unscripted, baby. It's unscripted.
Wasn't expecting to be asked about things. Another thing I like is the devil's eggs. Deviled eggs.
Nah, I wouldn't have seen that one coming.
Yeah.
But
Now my wife does those real good, so I like those. I like the eggs.
that's a southern Thanksgiving.
Yeah, even
deal.
some of the restaurants down here in the South, you can get them as an appetizer.
Right.
Different types of deviled eggs, different flavors and stuff. But yeah, I like the eggs. What else do I have to have? I like the turkey.
Threw him a curveball.
You did. You threw me a curveball. I like
Turkey, come on, man.
I like the turkey.
Turkey's a given. Turkey's a
you
given.
said 5 must-haves. Must have a turkey.
All right, I guess you like standard oven cooked turkey?
No.
What you like?
My favorite is smoking it on the Joe.
I got you.
Injecting it with some Creole butter, stuffing it with some fresh herbs and spices, and then just slow cooking it in the ceramic egg on the Joe. My second favorite would be deep frying it.
Yeah.
I've never been one for a baked one. And actually, the way we did it Thursday was it was in a deep fryer, but it's like a propane infrared one. Doesn't use any oil.
Oh, nice.
And we soaked it in brine for 24 hours, and it was real moist and juicy.
Nice.
So it turned out good. All right, so you got to, I'm a sweet potato guy. I like yams.
Yeah.
I like
That's a must to me. Sweet potato
with
casserole.
with some caramelized marshmallows on top.
A lot of brown sugar and butter.
Yeah.
That's basically a dessert.
Got to throw that on it. So I deserve my pumpkin pie. So you got your turkey. You start off with your eggs, then you got your turkey. I like mashed potatoes. I'm old school.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think I named 5. I got the yams, the turkey, pumpkin pie, the deviled eggs, and the mashed potatoes. So I got to have those because I like to. Of course, if I'm gonna cheat a little, say 6, I'm gonna throw some of that gravy on the turkey and on the taters, and then just drag my turkey through my taters and eat it like that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the way to eat it.
So what I leave off of your list?
No, I'm definitely a mashed potatoes and gravy. My mom is she's known for gravy,
Right.
so her gravy's
That's my mother-in-law.
yeah, she's really good at gravy, and I like broccoli casserole. To me, broccoli casserole is a must, and macaroni and cheese is kind of a must. But I'm from a Midwestern background, so
Right.
mac and cheese isn't really
Well, that's-
normally on the list.
Right. Well, I started to say mac and cheese, but it like you said, it's not necessarily a traditional Thanksgiving. Now, in our family, on my wife's side, and I think you've had it before, they do like a mac and cheese that's made out of spaghetti noodles.
Yeah.
And it's got cheese, and I think it's got mayonnaise in it, and I don't even know what else she puts in it, but that stuff's delicious.
Yeah,
now,
it's a plate of goodness.
That's a must.
I know that much. And I got to have my mom's lemon meringue pie.
Okay.
You know, lemon meringue doesn't really fit the Thanksgiving theme, and pumpkin pie obviously, but lemon meringue, you know, that's always a must. But anyway, I thought I'd throw you that curveball, man.
Yeah, I got to add that spaghetti mac and cheese.
Yeah, mac and
cheese. That would be second behind the pumpkin pie to me. That stuff is so good.
Yeah,
not good for you, but it's so good.
Nah, that's not the point of Thanksgiving.
That's what we were talking about at work today, and somebody was talking about losing weight, and I was like, you don't lose weight in the holidays.
It's
Thanksgiving,
the wrong time
Christmas,
to start.
just
That's
forget about it. If you want to revisit that in January, after New Year, you gotta get through the New Year. Then maybe you can have your New Year's resolution and
just work out a little harder the day after. You know,
don't fight it. It's gonna happen.
This was built. This was built off of Thanksgiving meals.
That's right.
Sweet.
All right. Well, good deal. You ready to
let's
jump in with an opening toast?
Let's do it.
All right. You want to start? Or you want me to start? Let me start because I have a feeling we might want to discuss yours a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit longer than mine. Mine is just I'm gonna keep it real simple. Nate Oates, coach at the University of Alabama. They went up to the Phil Knight tournament that we talked about last weekend. They didn't win the tournament, but they did win 2 out of 3 games.
Yeah.
And the 2 teams they beat, Michigan State and number 1 UNC. Impressive. And that game against UNC yesterday went to 4 overtimes.
Right. Yep.
I mean, it came down to the wire. It was I wouldn't have been mad win or lose. That was a great game. I hated that one of the teams had to lose, but it was a hell of a game. They've moved up to 11th in the AP rankings.
Yeah, saw that.
And when I was glancing through the AP rankings today, 11th was the highest SEC school, tied with Arkansas. We both tied at 11. And behind us, Kentucky, obviously, if we were the highest SEC school. Kentucky, UNC, Duke, and Gonzaga. Would you have ever thought you'd be able to look at the basketball rankings and see us ahead of those guys?
No.
So that's all hats off to Nate Oates and what he's done with that program. So for that reason, I'm toasting Oates.
Yeah, how about that 21 points from Quinn off the bench?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was a little bit too much Quinn in overtime.
Yeah.
It was like isolation every time down court, and that's why it went to 4 overtimes because they got away from what they were doing all game.
Right.
And it was just Quinn driving the hole, and that Alabama missed so many freaking layups. If they could have made a few layups or a couple more free throws,
game would have been over.
Game over a lot sooner.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
It happens. It's a good learning experience. It shows them they can play with any. And they got in about not this Saturday, but next Saturday they get number 1 again because now Houston is number 1.
That's true.
And we played them last year in Tuscaloosa, so this year we have to go to Houston. So that'll be another chance for Alabama to.
It's pretty strong out of conference schedule.
Oh yeah. That's one thing about Coach Oates. He's not afraid to,
battle tested. I think it's the key to the NCAA tournament for sure.
Yeah, because he's been scheduling Baylor and Houston and Gonzaga, all these preseasons. So yeah, like you said, it gets you ready for the tournament because you've already gone up against the best of the best. So
right, typically the SEC is a top heavy, little weak in the middle and in the end. So I think playing these tough OCCs are.
Although there's between Alabama, Arkansas.
Yeah, this
Tennessee,
year might be a little different for sure.
Kentucky.
LSU's is a decent middle of the pack. Auburn, we really didn't talk Auburn, but Auburn has to be mentioned in the SEC for basketball. So
let's go to your opening toast.
Let's move on to Coach Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines.
How did I not know that was coming?
Man, it's special. That's special. I mean, from a long-time Michigan football fanatic, I grew up a Michigan fan and unfortunately wasn't able to attend the University of Michigan, which would have been my first choice, but to see the tables turning a little bit on the Buckeyes does my heart some good. 2 back-to-back, embarrassing victories over the Buckeyes, I think, and winning for the first time since 2000 in the shoe. I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
And I just have to toast Coach Harbaugh and Michigan and the Michigan faithful, because I doubted you preseason. I really honestly I was struggling.
You I won't say you doubted them, but you probably went 51-49.
Yeah, I mean,
and we both said that we taken Ohio State just because this year's Michigan-Ohio State game was in Ohio.
Right, that is what we did say.
But for the past few weeks, you've been saying Michigan's going to do it.
Yeah, you could see a change. You could see a change happening, and Michigan's defense. I mean, they rose up. I mean, Stroud's still
and they did it without their best player.
Yeah. Two
Corum, 2 carries.
2 strong players, were out. So, I think that bodes well for Michigan going forward. And I honestly think they can. I think they can win it all.
I did see where the backup quarterback is entering the transfer portal.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was coming. You know, his day was done at Michigan. JJ has definitely had a game of his life. I mean, he hit some wide open kids, but he also made some very good throws, very good decisions. So it's been a long time waiting on a quarterback like that.
Over the next couple of weeks, we'll probably need to talk a little bit about the transfer portal and recruiting classes.
Oh yeah,
it's about that time of the year. The first of December rolls around. That's when you start having those discussions.
Bama picked up a nice recruit today.
They picked up a 4-star wide receiver today.
That's right.
With a lot of upside. So that number 1 recruiting class got a little stronger.
It did. We need some wideouts.
Yeah. Although Ja'Cory.
Yeah, no offense to the current ones we have on, because I think they're getting
Ja'Cory
better.
And Burton's looking better the last few games. This couple of freshmen are starting to step up their games. So
we need some take the top off guys. I think we all know that. So.
Yeah. With that blazer. All right.
We'll raise our glasses.
To a couple of well-deserving coaches who have done a fantastic job with
That's right.
So Coach Oates and Coach Harbaugh, Coach Khaki.
Coach Weirdo, man. He's weird. He's weird. I get it, man. I get it. And I doubted him too, man. But I got to tell you, he's definitely the best thing Michigan's got going.
Thanks, coaches.
Yeah.
Cheers. Of course, this next segment is known as the scumbag of the week.
Scumbag.
So why don't you go ahead and you start off with your scumbag?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw Auburn back on there, man. I'm disappointed in the supposed coaching hire.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought Auburn was better than this. You guys have acted very elitist for a long time. You've claimed to be above football. I've always heard the statement that Auburn fans are about Auburn, not just football. Alabama fans are only about football. So it's kind of been rammed into our mouths a little bit on that elitist attitude. And now you're hiring somebody with the background of Hugh Freeze. It just screams, we got to win at football. That's what it screams to me. I mean, I don't want to sit here and dog out Hugh Freeze for what he's gotten in trouble for, but...
Well, the thing about Auburn is, and you're talking about elitist and this and that, who was their last basketball coach hire?
Yeah.
And what kind of trash did he leave behind and turmoil? He had to come through it with just cause.
Sure.
Bruce Pearl, obviously, the coach of Auburn basketball. So now this is Auburn turning a blind eye to the morals of these coaches that they're hiring, because all they want to do is be able to win.
It's about winning. You're finally coming around, Auburn. I mean, we've been talking about this forever. Football's king.
Yeah. It's
king. And the fact that you're hiring Hugh Freeze with his baggage, I mean, I can talk about it right now. I mean, lack of institutional control, booster involvement, payment to players. Now I
Escort
realize
services.
yeah, I wasn't even going to bring that up, but thank you, Kolby. Escort services. I mean, now that the NIL is in place, he might possibly not get himself in trouble. But good luck with Hugh Freeze and the layers of involvement that Auburn is known for, meddling in the coaching program.
Right.
We'll see if Hugh Freeze can handle that. I wish him well. I really do. I mean, I don't want to just call out Auburn because I don't like Auburn, because that's so far from the truth.
Right.
I'm just calling it like I see it. And we've said this on this podcast before. A relevant Iron Bowl is more fun than that garbage we saw Saturday.
Right.
Because when Auburn scored to start the game, we were still laughing, honestly, because you could clearly see pregame that there was a difference in the teams. It's very noticeable.
Right. And there were very few Auburn fans in attendance. So they obviously lacked the confidence that they had a chance of winning. I was telling you before we started recording that we were sitting right next to the Auburn players' parents section. And even they were sitting down and quiet the whole game. And, they got a little loud after Auburn scored first, but then it was pretty much crickets the rest of the game.
No, I mean, honestly, the roster is depleted. The roster is really not a Hugh Freeze roster. Obviously, not a Hugh Freeze roster yet. It's going to take him a couple of years to even get into that middle of the pack relevancy, and I don't know if he can survive that.
I don't know with the transfer portal and his his little black book, he might be able to convince them.
Well, there's a lot of hookers in that book, man.
That's what I meant by that little black book.
The Auburn cheerleading team might
be able to get some because there's some names going out there into that transfer portal. I imagine he's going to try to hit that transfer portal hard.
Gonna have to, man. Anyway, that's my scumbag of the week.
Yes,
is the Auburn University. We predicted it. I made fun of it. You didn't surprise me. I think you surprised a lot. I knew you would. Football's king.
Well, my scumbag of the week, I started my toast with Nate Oates and the Bama basketball team and what they were able to do in the Phil Knight Invitational. And it was a wonderful event to watch and see, except for one thing, and that was Bill Walton. And I'm going to throw ESPN in there, too, because they were part of everything that was going on. So during the games, we saw clips of him eating this big old, what they call a voodoo donut. It's about the size of a small pizza. So they got him on camera eating it, icing all in his teeth, all over in his mouth, and not something I want.
You don't really want to see Bill Walton anyway.
Yeah.
He's not something to really look at.
Well, they showed him almost as much as they showed basketball. Every time they had a chance, they cut to a camera on him and the other guy. I don't even know the other guy's name. But anyway, so Voodoo Donuts. They had a clip where he's out there in Portland, out there hugging trees out in the forest. I mean, just sitting there hugging trees. There was another clip, him singing "Happy Birthday" to a beaver, a live beaver out in the river. He's got on one of them little birthday hats that you wear to a kid's birthday party, singing "Happy Birthday" to a beaver.
Well, he is a native Californian.
Well, I mean, he played his pro ball in Portland, so he knows. But
right.
The whole show he was giving us a history lesson of Portland. I tuned in to watch basketball and hear about basketball, not the nonsense he was pulling. Then there was another clip of, the outside the grocery store when we were kids, you'd put the quarter in a little horse and ride it.
Yeah.
There was a clip of him doing that too, right? Riding a horse. So
nice production.
I mean, it had nothing to do with basketball, and it took away from. And I mean, you wanted to watch it and just turn the sound off.
Sounds like an SEC game of the week with Danielson.
I mean, it was worse than Danielson. At least Danielson is not
right
working on his own agenda.
He hasn't been so bad this year.
No. But I felt like this was the Bill Walton show with a side of basketball drizzled in.
Right.
And the only time he would talk about basketball would be when somebody would make a great play, and he would say, "That's the play of the year in college basketball." He had to say that 5 or 6 times each game. So it was just, it's time for ESPN to
move on.
I mean, I used to enjoy when he was the color guy, because he did have, some insightful information.
Yeah.
He has lived it and been there and done it.
I like the anecdotal side.
Yeah, but now he's just way out there. I mean,
he is a space.
Too many shrooms, too many hits of acid. It's caught up with him.
Yeah, he's clearly been on the drugs for a long time.
Yeah, so it's time to not put us through that anymore. So yeah, that's my scumbag of the week.
Billy
It's
Walton.
Bill Walton / ESPN, because it wouldn't have happened without ESPN backing it.
ESPN's lost themselves, it seems.
So yeah, it was horrendous. So.
Well, those are a couple worthy scumbags for sure.
Yeah. Like you like to say, they always pop their heads up.
Yeah, sometimes we have to go sift through a few of them.
Yeah. We don't have to go looking for them; they find us. All right. Well, let's come in hot with some current events. So we started out last week on coming in hot talking about the men's soccer team. They had another tie.
Yeah.
Tie to England, so they're in a must-win.
Absolutely.
A must-win game against Iran tomorrow, which it's very, very capable of being able to beat Iran.
Yeah. I mean, the men's team has really surprised a lot of people. Certainly, the youth coming in, but I mean, they play a good brand of soccer.
Good defense, anyway.
Yeah, very good.
You think about the fact that they've played Wales and England, and all they've given up is one penalty kick.
Right. And that was a stupid penalty in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed about
and
that.
If you could take that back, they would be able to move on rather than be in this must win.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a must win. I mean, that's their only way of advancing in group play is to win. Now they still could win first place in the group if they score like 6 goals or something. England doesn't, but
right.
I think the U.S. men's team they look good. Great goaltending.
Yep.
Just
and young,
really good overall team. Yeah, a lot of
young,
youth
so
for sure.
Hopefully this is just gonna get better from here.
Yeah, I mean I think Brazil, France, and Portugal are still the class right now of the tournament so far. I mean those would be
I think Brazil won today.
Yeah, those would be the top 3 teams, and then of course you got Argentina who stubbed their foot early. Won again at the last game they played. Be about 4th, and then I think England's about the 5th best team. So we'll see.
Speaking of soccer, there's a rumor going around that Messi might come play for the Miami professional team. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but that was
I mean, he's still got the game for sure. I mean, I could see him making some sort of a stud tour, to come to the U.S. and make a tour. That'd be pretty cool to see him come over here and play in our league for sure.
And then the last soccer comment I had was the Alabama women are in the Final Four.
Oh yeah, that's good, man.
Yep, they won their match last Friday, so that put them in the Final Four, which is actually up the road in Cary.
Oh wow,
North Carolina.
Who is in the final?
I'm not even sure.
I'm not sure.
I was so tied up with all the other things going on this weekend. We talked. Me and Blasco actually talked about going to the soccer match in Raleigh, and because it was at 6:00 on Friday, but it just wasn't a good time, and I was entertaining so many folks, so grilling steaks and having a bonfire and all that. So just the time wasn't good, but so we considered going to it, so then I found out that they won and are moving on to the Final Four. So
I need to take our talents to Cary.
Well, yeah, I mean if it's a weekend game, I don't know that I want to go during the week.
No, right. Yeah, I'm a little pissed off about the 1:00 or 2:00 kick for the U.S. team. I mean,
yeah,
those times suck really. For the working class.
Right. Well, but I guess when you got that
time
change.
Yeah, exactly. I should have scheduled my time off to watch it, but we'll see how that goes. What else? What you want to get into?
We go right into some college football. We already talked about the Wolverines kicking
let's just
kicking
let's
that
just
ass.
jump into the playoff picture. You know it.
Yep.
It's
you basically got
worked
six.
itself out.
There's 6 teams, that still could possibly get in. LSU's out.
Out.
Even if they beat Georgia, I don't think the committee's going to take a 3-loss SEC champ. Last week I argued for they could make it with the SEC championship and 2 losses.
Considering their their big wins.
Yes, but at this point lose that loss to A&M.
No, that's inexcusable. They've lost it.
And I really personally would have Ohio State out. After that ass whooping at home. If it was on the road, I might could overlook it a little bit. But when you lose that bad at home and that resume, those weak W's, and who in the hell is the committee propping up Penn State? Yep, they are.
Got to be propping up Penn State because you were propping them up for either the Michigan Ohio State loser.
Right.
That's the only only thing that we can. Because if you look at Penn State's game, their record and their game by games, they're horrible. I don't know how they're in the top 10, and I think it's just poetic justice that Alabama is still technically not eliminated.
Well, that's going to be interesting Tuesday night to see how the committee ranks
Bama and Ohio.
Ohio State, 5-6. I personally would have Bama at 5 because I think they're 2 squeaking losses on last-second plays.
I get it. We don't look typical Bama.
No.
I get it. I do.
But
and I'm not so sure this Bama fan wants us to eke into the playoffs.
I really don't either.
But honestly, if we do eke our way into the playoffs because of other teams faltering, it's not because some bias.
No.
It's because the other teams choke. It's happened to us before where we had a second loss and other teams choked in front of us. Let us back in it. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it could possibly happen.
USC has to play.
TCU struggled with K-State.
Yeah, and that's who they have to play.
USC lost
to
Utah,
who they have to play. Of course, it was a 1-point loss, but I think
still lost to them.
I'm trying to think, was that game in Pasadena or Utah?
I don't remember where that game was.
I can't remember
honestly.
But yeah, so it could happen. Both those teams could wind up losing. But then the question is, do you still take a 1-loss TCU, or do they have to finish undefeated?
Honestly, I think TCU has to finish undefeated. I really think it was at Utah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was a 1-point win.
It was a 1 point.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think TCU has to win out because if I want to give the SEC bias talk a little credit, it could come into play here. Mm-hmm. With them getting beat by K-State, especially if it's a double-digit loss. If it's a double-digit loss to K-State and we get bumped up to number 5 tomorrow night, I could see. Because your only other option is Tennessee.
Yeah,
but Tennessee's got no Hendon Hooker,
right?
So the committee's going to have to.
They didn't struggle putting up points this weekend.
They're going to have to consider no Hendon Hooker.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Now, I'm not advocating Alabama being in the playoff by any stretch. I personally.
It's the college football community is going to lose their freaking minds if Alabama makes it this year.
It's going to be so fun to watch social media. And the people, like you said, lose their absolute mind. But no, I'm pulling for USC to win and TCU to win. Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC.
That's what I said. The top 4, they about look like a lock at this point. Yes, there is still the potential because TCU and USC, they ain't got gimmies. Those other 2 teams are playing for a conference championship. So there's definitely something to play for those teams.
TCU, I could see playing a tight one and losing and still getting in. I can see that. USC's already got the L if they lose.
They're done. Yeah, they're out.
They're done. I think Alabama would certainly bump up ahead of them.
Yeah.
But I don't see any flipping of the current ranking at this point. I mean, I think if all 4 went out, this is the ranking.
Yep.
Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, and USC at 4.
Same. I could see maybe USC and TCU flipping depending on how the championship games play out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they would like to see the big blue bloods like Michigan, USC, like an old Rose Bowl game.
Right.
Like to see that one, but we'll see how that goes. But
Of course, South Carolina knocking off Clemson, that puts the ACC champ out.
yeah, exactly. That's that game was kind of a moot point going in, and then South Carolina pulling the upset. And how about South Carolina?
Come on strong the last
yeah,
couple games.
yeah. Maybe Beamer Ball is. I like Beamer. I think he was a great hire, and I mean,
I think they're already talking extension now.
Oh yeah, I think he certainly has.
After knocking off Clemson, that's a blank check right there. You beat Clemson.
That's it, man. That's it. Beamer Ball is here to stay at Columbia.
Yeah, knocked off that long home winning streak that Clemson had, 50 games
Oh,
or
that's
something
true.
like that.
That is true.
Yeah, that put an end to that win streak. I don't remember if it was exactly 50, but
Yeah, I don't remember. I should, because I was there a week
there,
earlier,
yeah,
and
you-
they were talking about the home win streak.
You saw the last win of the win streak.
I did see the last win, and it was an interesting trip.
Bryce got a real nice ovation at the end. He was about in tears.
Yeah. Obviously he's not coming back.
Right.
I think there was some hope that maybe he could shock the world, but his wording of his interviews clearly, and then the way he saluted the Bama faithful.
Well, he went over to the student section.
Yeah.
And kind of, said his goodbye, and that's when he, like I said, he almost broke down in tears. We had just walked out of the stadium. We were in the tunnel, and we heard this loud roar, and I was like, I guarantee that was just for Bryce, and that turns out that's what it was. I wasn't out there to see it, but I heard it.
Yeah, he was almost my toast. I was down to Bryce.
Yeah.
Toasting his career, and I mean the fact of the matter is we, I don't want to say we blew his career, because I mean he had.
Well, the sad thing is, unless major chaos happens, he will not have He's got a national championship ring,
but not as the starter.
But not as the starter.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was under Mac, so he won't have started. And of course, Peyton Manning didn't either, and he turned out okay.
No, I think Bryce is going to turn out fantastic. I mean, I think he's quite possibly the best quarterback that processes. I mean, the way he processes, you watch him, the way he's processing the pre-snap and post-snap reads, and the fact that he's so calm in the pocket. He's a great runner.
Oh yeah,
but he just chooses not to.
Well, and Saturday he actually had a little quicker
decision.
Escape.
Yeah,
he
made a little quicker decisions.
Yeah,
and they were correct. And
I was glad to see, because he rushed for almost 50. It was 47, 48, something like that. So to me, he might still get an invite to New York for the Heisman. I could see him in possibly in the top 3 to 5.
Yeah, I think the Heisman clearly was secured this Saturday.
You think it's Caleb?
Yeah, I think Williams' performance clearly
He
secured.
looked good. He looked good.
He looked good. He
both
looked Heisman
throwing and
worthy.
running.
Yeah, he looked Heisman worthy.
Yeah, and I think
USC's success, clearly speaks to his
Corum not being able to put up any numbers for Michigan. I think hurts his chances.
I think so too.
Stroud laid an egg. So, like I said, I could see Bryce. Possibly, because I don't see a whole lot of separation between Stroud, Corum, and Bryce.
It's definitely been probably I can't even remember the past 10 years where it's been so I don't know who's leading the pack.
Yeah, I think, and Hendon Hooker too. I think he was.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker was New York bound.
He was. He was definitely top 2 to 3. Originally I would have said Stroud, Hooker, and Caleb Williams. Not at the start of the season, but 6-7 games in. But now, like you said, I think Caleb's pulling away.
Yeah, that game he had Saturday. I mean, I watched the majority of that game, and he was impressive.
Yeah.
He was impressive.
If he handles his business this next weekend, that should completely lock it up.
Yeah, in fact, I think he's almost locked up #1 draft pick.
No, you're talking about the following year.
Yeah, the following year. I mean,
he's got it all.
Because he throws a good ball too,
and he's got better size than a Bryce Young.
Yeah, he's got really good size, and that blazing speed and his elusiveness was just. I've never really watched him. I mean, the last time I watched him, he was a freshman, and so I really didn't give him too much credit at that point.
Well, when he took over for Rattler at Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he looked good, and then he followed Riley to USC.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Riley has an impact on quarterbacks. So,
well, you talked about Auburn hiring Freeze. Kiffin decided to stay at Ole Miss.
Yep.
I heard Deion said that Colorado offered him the job.
Yep.
He didn't say he was taking. He said he was interested, but he didn't.
That's some wishful thinking. Now, Deion's definitely got his sights on bigger and better things, I think, than to go out west and just flounder at Colorado. I mean,
yeah,
I don't see that happening. I mean, I don't see that happening. Luke Fickell today, Luke was announced as the Wisconsin coach.
That surprised me a little bit.
No, I mean, he built Cincinnati into a playoff team.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't surprise me.
No, it surprised you that he left.
That he went to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I would have thought he would have held out maybe for a top 5 job.
Well, the Buckeyes job might be coming open soon. I mean, Ryan Day's going to be on the hot seat losing.
Yeah, they was.
But he's already had a run at Ohio State, and he failed. He failed there. So I think Wisconsin's a really good fit for him. I really do. And I mean, I think if he built what I meant to say, I wasn't questioning what you were saying, but
right.
What I meant to say about him getting Cincinnati into the playoffs, he can clearly get Wisconsin to the playoffs for sure,
or at least make them a Big Ten contender.
Yeah, easily.
I mean,
they've already
been
they've already been a.
I mean,
I know what you mean.
A legit, up there with Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, a legit contender, not just winning. I mean, Purdue is in the Big Ten championship.
Right.
I mean, that speaks volumes, honestly. And the way they've split that conference is head scratching. But I mean, I think Luke Fickell makes big sense.
Well, the SEC's talking about doing away with the conferences.
I know.
Or divisions, whatever you want to call it. Not conferences, but doing away with the divisions.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting.
I mean, I think ultimately, we're going to the super conferences. We are gonna do away with it, which is good because I think we can get some really good matchups and games that are interesting, especially if we're going to start losing some of the traditional rivalries, which I don't know that we really are, honestly. I mean, if you look at things and how teams are moving and shifting. So,
well, and I think it makes sense with the expansion to the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, Matt Rule took the Nebraska job.
Yeah.
And he stole South Carolina's OC.
Yeah, and he's stealing some Carolina Panther coaches too. I heard today that there's some Carolina Panthers coaches will be leaving at the end of the season to join his staff. I mean, I think Matt Rule makes a lot of sense back in college. I mean, he did some good things, at Temple, did some good things at Baylor. Am I missing a school?
I think he was somewhere else, but those were really the two.
Yeah, those he built into a really good program. So I mean, I think honestly,
I don't think Temple was his first head coaching job, but
yeah, and he comes from the Penn State ranks too. But I think he was an assistant there. But I don't know. Nebraska seems like a purgatory. I don't know that we'll ever see Nebraska like we did in the early '90s. With Tommy Frazier at quarterback. I mean, those 2 years of dominance that we saw at Nebraska, I don't think we'll see that again. I mean, but you could. I mean, I don't want to ever rule the program out. Obviously, Cincinnati made it into the playoffs.
Right.
So, I mean, Nebraska's got some money out there to make a difference. So, could be good. I also heard that the Michigan, the the tunnel tussle.
Yeah, 7 players were charged.
Yeah.
One of them was
Suspended for 8 games.
One of them was a felonious assault charge.
Right, yeah.
For Crump.
Yeah, Kari Crump got 8-game suspension for next year. And then, of course, aggravated assault, and then the 7 others. And they got 4-game suspension and a $100K fine. And then, of course, Michigan has announced some different security measures for the tunnel, which we kind of knew obviously was coming. So that deal is done.
Well, some interesting quarterback news going on in the NFL. Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He earned himself another start.
Yeah.
Mike White.
Might have sent Wilson packing.
My scumbag of last week.
Yeah.
Mike White came in and he led them, looked good. So, and then of course, Deshaun has been reinstated to come back and play next week.
Yeah, he's back. He's back. First action in 700 games.
Is that what?
700 games. Or day? Is it 700 days?
No, it can't be games.
It's days.
I mean, unless you're counting every single game.
It's days. Sorry. 700 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and what's Cleveland? 4-7? I think Cleveland's 4-7, but technically they're not really out of it. And I mean, Brisket.
Well, I don't think anybody.
Right.
Aside from Houston.
Yeah, nobody's really.
All the good divisions, all those teams are all good and they're all within a couple of games. And all the bad divisions, you're only a couple of games away from being in first place.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is Brisket has them 5th overall in offense, 17th in passing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Deshaun, obviously, I think he makes them better if he's ready. Obviously 700 games he's been out.
Days.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
I got you.
700 days he's been out. I mean, we're going to see what he's got, obviously. But the numbers.
Well, I mean, he's still so young. I don't think.
Well, he's 27. I mean,
that's young.
He's young as springtime in the NFL.
Hell,
They're already talking about.
Henry Hooker's 25.
I know,
he's
but
still in college.
you're questioning his draft status because he's 25.
Well, now I'm saying 27 is young.
Changing your story now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think he makes them better. I think Cleveland's happy at 4-7. I mean, I think they would like to have been maybe 1 game better with Brisket at their quarterback, but
Well, and who Deshaun gets to come back and play.
Oh, I know. The first game back's against Houston. Mm-hmm. But Houston's secondary's good. Check the numbers. They're not bad. I mean, I'm not saying they're great, but they're in the middle.
Did you see Tua put up almost 300 yards against them in the first half?
That's Tua, though. That's different.
Their defense is so bad, it's probably going to cost me a fantasy victory this week. Because Tua didn't even play hardly in the second half, so I didn't get any stats.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So don't even come to me about no secondary.
Well,
of course,
going by the statistics.
now Stingley's out. Surprise! Yeah, Mr. Can't never stay on the field.
Stingley's out. Yeah, exactly.
Who else? I heard about somebody else today the wide receiver for the Rams, Allen Robinson.
Oh yeah,
they were talking, he's hurt. I'm like, he's hurt every year.
He's always hurt. He's out for the year. He ain't hurt.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, your best trait in an NFL is being available.
Right. Yeah, your best ability is your availability.
Right. I knew there was a saying in there somewhere.
Saying, yeah, exactly.
I didn't even ask you what you sipping on tonight.
Oh, I don't
We jumped straight from the toast into the scumbag. We couldn't wait to roast our scumbags. We didn't even talk about the bourbon we were sipping on.
We did jump right into it. I'm sipping on the Wild Turkey Rare Breed.
Okay.
Yeah, that was last week's, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It was good.
It is good. It's got a nice front end flavor, back end flavor, a lot of complexity to it. It's good.
I just went with just a Woodford Reserve.
Reserve.
I hadn't had one in a while, so I had a bottle over there. I just cracked it open and decided to have a little Woodford.
I introduced my family to they're all about Woodford.
Right.
And so I introduced them to the Old Forester Statesman
Okay.
this weekend, and they still like the Woodford. They were like, "Oh, the Statesman's really good," but they still like the Woodford.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Woodford's just a good. It's not real complex. There's no hug.
right,
It's just a good.
smooth, solid
To me, it's really good for
mixers.
old fashions. I
Or
really like it in an old fashioned. When I make my
Yeah.
old fashions, I'm usually using Woodford.
And I think Woodford is better for the novice.
Yeah.
It's a good higher end bourbon for a novice.
Although $40 for a fifth,
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's like
It's
top
a high-
shelf,
yeah,
high end
exactly.
for a novice, and then you start introducing a little bit higher proof and a little more complexity, and you start getting too much flavors. I think it was maybe a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
To them, so they like the Woodford, which is cool. I appreciate that. I was
Right.
trying to show them something a little different.
Save them some money also.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of it is economics, and
Probably.
in my household, economics is king.
Well, when you're retired and like that,
Yeah,
you're on a budget. You're on a fixed budget, so.
yeah. What about Tom Brady? Tom Brady was he was 218-0
Oh yeah.
when leading with 2 minutes left, and he got his first L. 2
Brisket.
Jacoby Brisket,
Brisket.
barbecue brisket, got him.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs,
The two leading rushers in the NFL?
built by Bama.
Built by Bama, Jacobs and then Henry.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs, man, he's running crazy, isn't he?
He is.
Golly, I'm happy for him. It's a contract
Yep,
year,
that's
too.
what I was just about to say. He's chasing that money
That's right. Man's going to get paid.
because they didn't pick up his options.
Nope.
So that's what, all these, same thing with Saquon. They didn't pick up his option and he's fixed. Actually, Jacobs, was he a first round draft pick?
I think so. I don't know. I think so. We can find that out. Yeah. No, that's good, man. I'm happy for him.
Yep.
Russell Wilson having some troubles with his team, which he's been having troubles with his team.
Well,
got into a little tussle with.
Somebody asked me about that today, and they asked me, my opinion on what are the Broncos going to do with Wilson. I said, well, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to fire Hackett and bring in another coach. And then if Russell's still failing after they bring in another coach, then they might have to figure out what they're going to do with Russell. But they got too much invested in Russell right now.
Yeah, be a tough
money and trade a draft pick. I mean, they've got. So you at least got to give him a new opportunity with a different coach and staff
that's true.
And then, but if you can't fix it that second time around, I think at that point you do have to try to trade him or something to recoup some of the value you gave away for him. But things ain't. Coming home from work this evening, I heard on the radio they said that Carson Wentz has thrown more touchdown passes this year than Russell Wilson has, and Wentz hadn't played since week 6.
Right. That's what I was just about to say. When was the last time he played?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's really bad.
And he has receivers.
Yeah, it's not like he's lacking weapons.
So yeah, I mean, I really thought that them adding Wilson to that already stout defense and the good weapons. Of course, they lost their running back that was so good.
Yeah, that didn't help
Javonte.
matters.
So that hurt. But they still had Melvin Gordon, who's good when he remembers to hold on to the football.
Right, which who they released. So.
But no, Cortland Sutherland, Jerry Jeudy, a couple of tight ends that they got that are good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
KJ Hamler. I mean, they do have some.
Yeah, they've got some.
They got the trifecta of receivers as far as speed guy over the top, big guy in the middle, Jerry Jeudy in the slot. Route running. So they definitely have the weapons, but I don't know what's going on. I guess you have to look at the offense. You just have to look at
right, and that's why I said I think they'll probably try to find somebody that can build a system that fits Russell Wilson better.
Yeah.
That's a better match.
Yeah, it clearly doesn't look like a fit. I mean, I know Russell Wilson's had issues in the past with teammates, but his play on the field has still been really good,
You know, it's like the NFL divas has switched from the receivers to the quarterbacks. With Aaron Rodgers, with Zach Wilson, with Russell Wilson. I heard he's got like his own private office at the training facility, and they said on the flight over to England when they played their game in England, he was like going up and down the aisle doing like high knees and stuff while the rest of his teammates are trying to sleep.
Right.
Yeah, he just
and putting it on social media.
Oh, did he? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he was putting that on social media, which was
trying to
really bizarre. I don't think his
look at me.
Yeah, look at me. I don't think his teammates liked it a whole lot. You brought up diva quarterbacks. What about Aaron Rodgers exiting out of the game with an apparent rib injury?
Well, he said he's going to keep playing as long as he can. I mean, there's going to be further tests done to see the extent of the damage, but he's saying as long as they're in the playoff race, he's still.
Love came in and looked effective.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think Green Bay would be better off if Rodgers did sit out and then they could see what they had in Love.
I'm wondering if maybe that's what they're going to do with this injury.
Right.
Maybe tell him, hey, we want you to take a break, because it's kind of like the same transition from Favre to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And Love's been sitting behind him for 2 years now? 3 years?
3
years he's been sitting behind him, learning. They said he has an incredible grasp of the offense, which he should.
He's had nothing but time to study.
Fresh legs. He threw a dart. When they needed to what's his name, Christian Watson, on that little crossing route. I mean, I think
they're young at the receiver, and you get that young quarterback and let them kind of grow together.
That's right.
I think it's probably time for
Veteran
them to move on from.
I do
from
think
Aaron.
it's time. I'd like to see Love in some starts before you make that judgment, but he looked really comfortable.
And then if you could send him to like the Jets, a team that's got everything except, of course, we don't know about Mike White yet, but supposing Mike White ain't the answer, you throw an Aaron Rodgers onto that Jets squad, how good does that make them? I mean,
I would take Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota, kind of like Brett Favre when he came to Minnesota.
Well, that's what Favre. It's funny because Favre played for Minnesota and for the Jets.
Yeah, he did. I could see that happening.
And those were the two teams I was
gladly take.
I don't think Aaron really wants to continue to follow down Brett's career path, but
looks like he's headed that way.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That's really all I have.
Yeah, we discussed all the topics that I had planned on touching on tonight.
Obviously, I think next week we need to maybe do a breakdown of the playoffs. With all the championship games out of the way.
Yeah, and the bowls. We can talk about.
We'll do the bowls,
because come Sunday we'll know.
That's true.
What all the matchups are. So we can do that next week. Have a discussion on the college football postseason.
Yeah.
So that sounds good.
Could dominate our conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of been just going off script and just going wherever the conversation takes us, but we can always get back into a little bit of a.
Yeah, we'll still hit the World Cup, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully the U.S. is still in it. Big day tomorrow in sports, because we'll find out the soccer team's fate. We'll find out who's 5 and who's 6 in the playoff rankings.
That's right.
So it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow.
Yeah, it will.
All right, well, let's go check out these two Jefferson's reserves. We'll taste them, and then we'll rate that shit. See you at the bar.
4, 3, 2, are you ready?
Welcome to Kolby's Bar, and it's time for Rate That Shit. This is the portion of the podcast where we put up a couple, maybe 3 bottles of bourbon, and we walk you through it, Kolby will give you some background, and we rate it and give you our opinions.
Yep, that's what we like to do, this part of the show. So you want to tell them about the rating system,
Sure.
and then I'll tell them about the bourbons.
Yeah, so our rating system is based on a scale of 1 through 4. 1 being the lowest level, we call that a brown bag, and that's it's not good to us. You know, it's our flavor profile. We don't like it. We don't really want to order it. We don't want you to serve it to us.
And we wouldn't recommend you spending your hard-earned money on it either. So
That's right.
So usually the ones
That we kind of recommend bypassing those.
That's right.
Number 2, it's getting a little bit better. We like to call that a mixer. Number 2 could be just a stock bottle of Woodford, for example. We think Woodford's a great mixer. It's what Kolby's sipping on.
Yeah, I just took a sip of some Woodford right then. But
Yeah, I mean, we like Woodfords in our all of our old fashions, whether it's a aged old fashioned or whatever.
It's a good bourbon to have at your bar because pretty much everybody's gonna like it.
Yeah.
You know, the people that aren't big bourbon drinkers will like it. They might like it, like you said, in an old fashioned or with some Coke or whatever. And then more experienced bourbon drinkers, they're gonna be okay with it. It's not. It wouldn't be their first choice.
Exactly.
But they're gonna be just fine drinking it.
As you move up the scale in bourbon and start to really drink a lot of different types of bourbon, you tend to find out that Woodford isn't exactly top shelf.
You know, once upon a time it was top shelf for us, but now it would be our bottom shelf, really.
Yeah, or a daily drinker.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, we're going to start out on the lower end with a Buffalo Trace or a Maker's Mark or a Woodford, and then
Work our way
go
up
up
for sure.
to the more complex and interesting bourbons.
That's it. And moving up the scale, number 3 to us. Number 3 is on the rocks. It's more than likely for us. It always tends to be a higher proof, something that doesn't fit our profile. We like something usually around the 100 proof range. Above that, you might want to throw a cube in there and dilute it down and sip on it. And then, of course, last but not least, the best way, in our opinion, to sip your bourbon, to taste your bourbon, and to sample your bourbon is neat. Yeah.
Yeah, and anytime I try bourbon, even if I'm like at a bar or a restaurant or something like that, I'm always going to tell them, bring it to me neat.
Right.
If I'm not that happy with it, then I might tell them to bring me some rocks on the side. But I'm always going to taste it neat first and really see what that bourbon's about and see what I think of it. So what we have here today is 2 of the Jefferson Reserves. You know, when we did our nautical theme tasting way back when, we did the Oceans, the Jefferson's Ocean, and we both gave it a 4, a neat. So it was very good. And
that was Voyage 24.
24.
If you're going out shopping, there's different voyages. We won't discuss that, but Voyage 24 was definitely it was good.
So what we have here is the Jefferson Reserve Very Old. So these are 3, they're blended with 3 bourbons, and the bourbons that they use are aged anywhere from 8 to 20 years. Obviously, because of the price of bourbon nowadays, they're not going to use a whole lot of the 20-year stuff to blend down and put. These also are $60.
Both?
So
60?
yeah, they were both $59.95.
Okay.
Which kind of surprised me. I thought the single barrel would be a little more expensive, but they were the exact same price. So we're going to start with the very small batch of the Jefferson's Reserve. Like I said, $60. Both of them come from the Kentucky Artisan Distillery in Crestwood, Kentucky. So there is not a Jefferson's Distillery. It's the Kentucky Artisan, and they do a couple. I think there's a Billy Goat or something like that, and a Whiskey Row bourbon. So they do a couple of different brands at the some people call it CAD, K-A-D. So the very small batch is 90.2 proof.
Okay.
Your aroma is going to be honey and nutmeg.
Nutmeg.
Let me swirl that a little bit. I didn't get a whole lot on that first.
No, it's not a whole lot of nose to it. I do get a little sweetness, a little honey.
Yeah, now that I swirled a little bit, I am getting a little.
I don't know about nutmeg, but I'm definitely getting some honey and some nuttiness to it.
Right. Well, now your taste is supposed to be caramel, toffee, and cinnamon, and kind of have a.
I ain't getting a lot of leg.
No, and it's not supposed to have a real long finish.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Real sweet up front. I get a little fruitiness on the back end.
Yeah.
You're right. Not a big hug to it. Not a lot of complexity to this bourbon at all.
Nah.
It's a nice flavor.
It's a good bourbon. I don't know that it's a $60 bourbon. I don't know that it's much better than the Woodford I've been drinking during the show.
Yeah, no, I agree.
A little disappointed.
For $60,
$60, I'm a little disappointed.
For $60, I would downgrade it easily.
That's
to
what-
a 2 for me.
That I was thinking the same. That's why I reiterated that it is $60 because if it was $35, I might would give it a 3.
Not to make another plug, but for $60,
doesn't even compare.
all the way $60. I
Doesn't.
mean,
When for those not watching on YouTube, that was a bottle of chicken cock.
oh yeah, I'm thinking everybody should be watching
That's right.
Bourbon Buzz and
I
Ballin.
know it.
Yeah, no, chicken cock for $60 easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay if I never have another drink of that again. Not for $60. I mean, I can think of, we could probably for 20 minutes talk about bourbons that we would put ahead of that, and a lot of bourbons half that price. Not a lot, but there's some bourbons half that price that I would clearly go for over that one.
Yeah, disappointed for the price.
Yeah.
Like I said, the taste is not bad.
Good
it's
flavor,
it's a
just-
smooth. There's not a lot of.
It's done after the upfront
Yeah, it
taste.
is.
It's pretty much over.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't coat your mouth. There was no complexity to it. So, if you're just starting out, that might be something that hits your palate and you love. But, if you've sampled a lot of bourbons, I can see that one would clearly be forgotten.
Yeah. No, like I said, it's a solid 2 for me.
Yep.
Solid 2. It's good enough taste that I'm not gonna downgrade it to a 1.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But for $60, it's a 2. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's move on to the single barrel. Now, this is stepping up in proof a little bit. The single barrel is 100 proof, and it's same thing. It's blended between the different aged bourbons.
I'm not a big fan of the color. I'm always a little bit turned down by the goldish.
Like a honey color.
Yeah,
golden.
unless it's one of those cheaper honey bourbons where you're not expecting a lot. But out of $60, I do expect a little bit more age.
It does have a lot nicer nose to it. Now, this one, the way they describe it is leather, humidor, and fried apple pie.
Let's talk about that a minute. Leather.
Sounds like a 50 Shades of Grey.
Typically, I don't like to drink on leather. I remember
I like
shagging balls, chewing on my baseball glove, and that always had sort of a bad taste to it. But I don't know. It's got a little bit more leg to it, which
It's
indicates
definitely
a higher
got
proof, for sure.
Yeah, you definitely get a lot more notes in the nose. Now, your flavor is supposed to be cinnamon toast, toffee, and brown sugar.
I'm not going to kid you not. Up front, as you were saying cinnamon toast, I was thinking cinnamon up front.
I'm still trying to figure out that nose.
The last I said, it was kind of big. And
Gets any bigger, I'm not going to be able to fit it in this Glencairn. I'm going to have to just go with a regular rocks glass.
I got cinnamon on that one, man. I got some cinnamon toast and a little, sweetness on the back end.
Yeah, that one's definitely better. The single barrel is definitely better. And that little extra proof gives it a little bit longer finish.
I'm definitely getting cinnamon toast on that one, some vanilla, some honey.
That brown sugar on the end.
Yeah, a little. What dessert did you call it?
Well, they said on the nose fried apple pie.
Fried apple pie.
I really didn't even get any
fried apple
Well, I didn't
pie.
even really get any fruit out of that.
No, I got some cinnamon, some toastiness, some honey, some sweetness. You know, it felt like a dessert. So I'll go with the fried apple
Well,
pie.
and now that I've taken a couple of sips and re-smelling it, I do get a little apple.
Now you said that one's 60.
Yeah, they were
So this one's clearly
clearly better.
way better than this
Right.
one. Not like it's not even close. This one's like boring.
Yeah, I still wouldn't rate the single barrel a neat.
No, it's not.
It's
a neat
still
for
only
me,
going to be
but it's a definite solid.
Yeah,
3
it's
for
still
me.
only going to be a 3 for me. But you know, if you're choosing between the Jeffersons, go with the Ocean first.
Yeah, the Ocean first.
Go with the single barrel second, and then leave the very small batch.
Yeah,
Leave it on the shelf.
I ain't lying. That's true.
I mean, if
That's
I'm gonna
true.
spend $60, I'm gonna go get a bottle of chicken cock before I'm gonna get that bottle of.
Yeah, no. If someone gives you that as a gift,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
But
Or if you're just trying to complete, we've got a lot of friends
Right.
that like to have the complete sets.
yeah, exactly.
So if you're completing a set, by all means.
But just don't pop the top because you'll be disappointed. I think.
or give it to your guests.
Yeah, or put it in your own barrel. It might be.
Yeah,
might be
it's something else.
a nice start. Again, I'm always a little turned off by the honey, the goldish hue of some of these bourbons, especially if you're talking about mixing it with a 20-year. I mean, I'm like you said, it's probably a very small amount.
Yeah, it can't be.
But-
It's not dark enough.
Well, we've had a 22. What didn't we have a 22-year bourbon that didn't even? It wasn't even dark.
It looked like it was a 3-year.
It did, man. It was questionable. But no, that one's clearly that's a good bourbon there.
Yeah, I like that single barrel. I liked it. I like that single barrel.
Nice bottles too. I like.
Yeah,
I like
it's
the Jefferson.
the Jefferson's bottles are good looking bottles. Like I said, I would rate the Ocean the best, the single barrel second, and then the very small batch.
Right.
Of the 3, I know there's still a couple of
Yeah, I'm
other
sure
limited
there's-
releases that are out there. I know they've got a rye also, so yeah. Just to recap, we rated the Jefferson Reserve, very very old, very small batch. We rated that a 2.
A 2,
That would be a mixer.
a mixer.
And we rated the single barrel, which is also a very old, very small batch. We rated it a 3 on the rocks.
On the rocks.
So,
That one could have. I mean, I could definitely next week podcast.
yeah,
I'll be probably.
that's what I was just thinking. Next week, that's probably what I'll be drinking during the podcast.
Yeah, that one's a good sipper as well on the neat, but on our scale,
Right.
it's got to fall on the scale of 3 for us.
Yeah, it's got to be a 3. All right, well, good.
Cool.
All right.
Another good podcast.
Absolutely.
Good convo. Got a great week coming
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Like we said, there's going to be some good hot topics next week.
Next week we'll probably pretty much dominate college football, a little pro.
Bowl season. Yep.
Yeah, we got bowl season. We got all the conference championships are going to be done.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday are all the conference championships, and then Sunday will be the selection committee with the bowl selections for the ones that aren't in the playoffs. So yeah, good time, and then hopefully we'll still be able to talk about the men's soccer team.
Yeah, World Cup convo next week. Hopefully we can be toasting the U.S. men's team for sure.
Yep.
They're young. They're looking good.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
looking good.
Come on, guys, do
Just score one. Get one of them in
it.
the
No,
net.
score 2.
Yeah, get them in the net, man. We had some chances against England.
Yeah.
There weren't many, but we had some chances.
Yeah, I mean, England dominated the possession time.
Yeah.
So it's
Anyway.
hard to score if you don't have the ball.
That's right.
But anyway, all right. Well, let's wrap up this episode, and we'll be back next week for number 20.
Put our socials up
I
there.
did not switch them up
Yeah,
there.
check us out on our socials. Hit us up, Bourbon Buzz and Ballin PR@gmail.com, and of course we're on all the socials, Instagram, YouTube. We got TikTok. What
Apple.
else we got?
Apple, Spotify.
Yeah, we got them all, man. Check us out.
That's right.
Hit us, like us, share us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
That's right.
Cheers.